Hello guys, welcome to Solving Solutions, your number one channel where I get solutions to all your solving problems. It's nice having you in class again today. How have you been? On today's tutorial, we are going to do a brief one on the concept of back bearing and forward bearing in your boundary survey. Right, good. So now we have a perimeter here, or let's say a boundary, and then we have about 5 points, right? Good. And now we have extracted the boundaries of 2 of the 5 lines, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the idea is that, when you're carrying out a survey like this, you are going to label the bearings and the distance along all the lines, right? Good. Now when you are doing that, most of the times when each of the segments of the lines are exploded, you just click on the line and then you get the properties, right? Good. So now let us explode this line. So if we explode, it now becomes what? Separate or individual lines, right? Good. They are no longer polylines, right? Now if we select that line and then we come to the properties, from the properties we can see the distance, or let's say the length. We can see the length and the bearing of that line. So if we scroll down, we've seen that the length is 61.634. The bearing is 81 degrees 4 minutes 13 seconds, right? Good. So if peradventure, while you want to label it, you have not really gotten to appreciate the difference between back bearing and forward bearing, and you decide not to follow this approach, and then you use this other shortcut called DI, that is distance, right? Good. So if you use DI to get the distance of the line, definitely the properties will also come up, right? Good. So you now decide to move from P2 to P1, perhaps during the heat of the job, or you just decided to move that way. Now you can observe that the outputted distance is still 63.634. However, the bearing outputted is now 261 degrees 4 minutes 13 seconds. Now what is the first thing you are going to observe? The bearings are no longer the same. They are actually the same, however their difference is 180. Now how can we say two values that are different by 180 are actually the same? Yes, they are the same because we are talking about the same line. However, it is the direction from which you came that made the difference. Now we are seeing 261 413, right? So if we come to a calculator and then we have 261 degrees 4 minutes and then we have 13 seconds, right? So we do minus 180 degrees. What do we have? We have 81 degrees 4 minutes 13 seconds. Now this 81 degrees 4 minutes 13 seconds is the actual bearing of this line by default. But however, while you are trying to label, you mistakenly came in the anti-clockwise direction, the direction that is not in line with the course of the traverse. So if you have labeled your bearing 1, 2, 3, 4, your bearing determination should also go this way. If it goes this direction, you are still defining the same line but in a different orientation. You understand? So this different orientation, that is what gives rise to the back bearing. So it's actually a basic part of surveying that we need to appreciate, in that we have the same line. We can also use this just to validate what we are saying. Now we are moving from 2 to 3, right? If we scroll down, we have 101.45, right? So that is the default, or let's say the native bearing of the line from 2 to 3. So perhaps when you want to label it, you mistakenly or you unknowingly try to move, let's still use our DI, try to move from 3 to 2. You will find out that yes, the distance will still be the same, and then you might even convince yourself that it's actually the same line, no doubt, but the direction to which you have moved will now determine if the bearing would be the same as the bearing of that line, or plus or minus 180 will be affected on the bearing of the line. So the takeaway from today's tutorial is that most of the times when you want to label, it's better, maybe it's best, you select the line and then from the line you get the properties, or you know the cause of the traverse, the direction of the traverse, and then if you also want to use the shortcut DI or maybe list or maybe property or any other means you want to use to get your bearing, you know the direction of the traverse. So let's say, yeah, the way it moves from point 1 to point 2 to point 3, so that you don't move from 3 to 2 thinking that it's what 2 to 3. So that's the concept of forward bearing and backward bearing. So thanks for coming to class. We hope we have explained this using some practical field data, so that you have a better appreciation of it. So we are going to see you on the next tutorial. Ensure you keep staying safe and have a fantastic time. Bye.